What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another session with your boy Chad and my homie Joe on the other side.
What's going on?
Yeah, we're just gonna chop it up tonight, people. Let's get into some chattiness. Obviously, this past weekend was the opening season of F1. Dun 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 dun. So, let's start with practice. I had high hopes for Mercedes in practice because they were showing a very strong practice game. Like, they were, granted, Verstappen had pace because he always has pace because it's Verstappen. But I had hope for Mercedes and even Ferrari because they were setting some really good lap times in free practice. All the way up until FP3. So I was like, okay, so maybe Mercedes has kind of got their car, a little bit dialed in. Obviously, Ferrari, they're on their game, and you knew Red Bull was going to be there. But other teams actually were stepping up too. Like, I think at one point, I think Hulkenberg, he was up there, and I was really surprised by the Haas car. I was like, okay, so a lot of people are actually doing better than I thought. And then we get to qualifying, and no surprise, Verstappen takes pole. Again, I'm not surprised at all. I think, was it Sainz or Leclerc took P2? I think it was Leclerc.
Probably.
I think he took P2. Yeah. And then Russell took 3, which I was happy with because his team, Mercedes. Hamilton took 7th. And that really bothered me because he was doing so strong in the free practices, like finishing like Q2, Q3, or P2, P3. Like, he was up there. And I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened, and it really bummed me out for the race weekend. So, like, what did you think after watching the practices and then qualifying? Like, what was your take?
So, he came out of FP2, and people said it was like his first lap or his first hot lap. And then, like, I think they even said it was a windy day, so I think he got pushed. I think the wind was on his side. That's everybody's belief because he couldn't catch back up to that time on any of the extra laps. So he set that lap, and then nobody could touch it. So I think he got a little boost. As far as the race or qualifying, Hamilton said he had a different setup, and then George comes out like, no, we basically have the same car. So I think there's a little feistiness going on there. And then, like, I feel like George is talking some shit because he's like, oh, yeah, the car is all made around Hamilton. Like, almost kind of like if it's made around Hamilton and George is beating him. I think he's trying to set himself up. There's some weird stuff going on. It's a lot of weird stuff going on that we're going to talk about. But, yeah, I'm not sure. Then the seat broke during the race. But I feel like both the Mercedes had issues. Like, George had some overheating issues. There were some, I don't know. I was hoping they wouldn't crash because he was in the middle of the pack. But, yeah, right. The race, it was awful. It was very reminiscent. I paused it, and then I busted out a Lego set because I was like, I can't sit here and watch the same shit. I did this all last year, so I was like, okay, I got to multitask because this is terrible. And not even watch the trophy ceremony, which I never skip usually. I didn't want to hear the damn Dutch anthem again. Just like so tired of hearing that. But yeah, it was very disappointing. I felt like it was a lot of the same across the board. We got a lot of excitement in free practice and quali a little bit, and then it was just the same as 23. It's the same race. Yeah, that was my thoughts in general. You thought there's a little cool shit on their car, and then you thought they were, we made a new design. Allison came back to design the car. It's the first race. I just hope they get enough data to figure that shit out because I'm already bored.
Yeah. I mean, so to go back, to go to the race part, to go back to what you said about the rumblings you heard within Mercedes, there was one time during the commentary, it was either during one of the practices or during qualifying, they were saying that Hamilton had put in all these suggestions to George about his car to kind of help boost his car a little bit more because, Hamilton's going to have a lot of input into the cars because he's been racing for Mercedes so long, and he's a proven champion, so he knows what he's talking about. Yeah. But the commentators mentioned that there was, like, in the past, there was pushback from Russell not wanting Hamilton's advice or input on his car. And now you're like, with you saying that, it makes me wonder, okay, is George like opening up to the idea of Hamilton providing input to his car, but George is not liking that? Like, just like, if I want to get kind of, okay, so before we get too far, let's talk about the race real quick. Obviously, I was hoping Verstappen wouldn't win, even though I know he has the fastest car. I was not expecting the sheer dominance that he had on the track. Like, you expect that, well, I think they're on their RB20, RB21. I can't remember what their call sign is for their newest car. You knew the car was going to be dominant because they're bringing back almost the same car from last year. They even made it better. He won the race by like 26 seconds ahead of the car behind him. Like, so what was comical on the ESPN F1 Instagram page, somebody in the stands posted a video of Verstappen taking a couple of corners, and you could count the seconds until you saw the rest of the pack. It was mind-blowing. Like, his car is insanely fast, and their pace is, I know, anybody can set the fastest lap, but it's Red Bull's pace right now is insane. Like, Verstappen's pace. And what was crazy is during practice and qualifying, they were saying his pace was quicker than it was last year when they were doing the same, like, during last year's race in Bahrain. And I was like, it goes to show you that Red Bull has it figured out right now. Like, they have the best car on the grid, and they prove that with just how the sheer dominance of Max's win on Saturday. But it just, again, I'm just like, that's why I didn't even watch the race, because I was starting to get like timing results in before I was about to start like being able to watch the race, and I was like, there's no point in winning. Like, he's already so far ahead, you're not gonna catch him. Like, whatever, Yeah, I think he came P1. I think it was Perez P2, and then Sainz P3. I think George finished 5th, I think, or 6th. I think Hamilton was like 10th, or it might have been higher. I'd have to look at the positions again, just because, again, I was just disappointed in the race that I just didn't. Yeah.
Well, okay, so we've talked about this before. It's about I took a couple pictures, but it was like 3 laps to go. And I was counting early on, Verstappen was making about a minute ahead every 2-3 laps, it seemed. 3 laps out, kind of watching after all the pit stops. Perez was, 26 seconds behind, but he could not get that kind of gap from Sainz. So, again, like we've talked about, it's not the same car. I took several screenshots or camera shots to prove, and I was like counting the timing. If like it was the same car, he'd be able to pull away. And he had clean air because Verstappen was way ahead. It's clean air. So he was out in front. He should have been able to build a bigger gap to Sainz. And if you have that ability, you damn well would. Because especially for Perez, who got choked out at least twice last year right at the last lap. So why would he want to be in this situation again? So you have the same car. There's no reason why you wouldn't build a bigger gap. So I'm just throwing that out there in my opinion. It pisses me off because I know we have like some partnerships and shit, but now we have Visa, Cash App, Red Bull, Running Bulls, or whatever the stupid name is. Basically, we have four cars, 4 sets of data, and Horner even said that they were going to share more data between the teams. So it's like, not only have like a huge advantage, you have more cars that you can pull data from to make that Verstappen's car better. You have basically 3 other cars that you can fuck with to see how you want to improve his. So like, I really feel like that shit's got to stop, and it's not fun. It's what I like about F1 is it's a drivers' championship, but it's also a works team. You have F2 where I believe they all have the same specs, kind of like NASCAR or whatever, the other races. F1 is a true works team where you get those constant changing constructors that make a car. That's to me something that's fascinating. And yeah, it's cool to see like crazy dominance of the Red Bull. I'm not going to deny that car, but yeah, I think it's a little unfair that you have more cars than the rest of the grid to pull that data from. You know, and it's like all those people accusing Toto and Susie Wolf last year of sharing data because she's doing the F1 Academy. I'm like, that's bullshit. You're doing it for real right now. You know, so yeah, just I hope somebody. I don't care who it is. I just want to not be another 23 because that's the way it's looking right now. Yeah.
If we're being honest, the only true contender against Red Bull is Ferrari, and their cars aren't close. They're just not, like, unless Ferrari has some trick up their sleeve that they haven't released yet, and they kind of treated Bahrain as like kind of like that feeling out, like, okay, let's benchmark Red Bull, and then now we can see what the gap is and where we need to catch up. Because I hate to say it, I just don't think Mercedes is competitive right now, unfortunately. Like, I don't know what's going on in that camp. Tinfoil hat. This is just me thinking in my head, and this is just me. I always kind of go outside the box of the realm. I think that what we're going to see this year with Mercedes is that they are going to start putting a lot more stock into Russell's car because Russell is their future. I think the only way Russell doesn't become driver number one is if they get like a very good driver, and literally the only person I think that could be in that role and be one over Russell would be Verstappen. That's the only person. I don't think anybody else, like, I don't even think if they decided to get signs, or if I don't know who else's contract will be up after this year. But that's just my thought. So I think we're going to see them start shifting focus away from Hamilton and start shifting focus to Russell, which is fine. Like, Hamilton's leaving, so I get that. But I don't want them to sour the relationship because, again, he built his dominance at Mercedes, and I want to see that relationship stay healthy. Because obviously for me as a fanboy, my dream is that, you know, he goes Ferrari, he wins his 8th championship, you know, he reaches the pinnacle of racing royalty, and then he comes back to Mercedes to race one more season as his last season, kind of like his goodbye farewell tour, and then he walks away. Like, that's my dream and hope. I don't know if that'll happen, but you know. But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts what's going to happen with Mercedes this year during this season.
Yeah, since we're on a tinfoil hat, I'll keep mine on. So a lot of crazy shit's going on. So it's no news that the Horner thing happened, and they kind of just dismissed it. But then, yeah, there was the big leak. But from what I can tell, Ford, who's doing powertrains in 26, we brought this up, has not accepted the answer. That's like we didn't get any details. We're not still comfortable going through. For you just being like, oh, our internal investigation was fine. Like, no, we want to know what it is before we commit our engines. And I'm going to bring up some stuff that you might not have heard. Did you know, this will piggyback onto this, but did you know that Horner, I don't know what date and time, but he had a group of British financiers. Red Bull split up between the German company or Austria and a Thai division. He went to the Thai division and tried to buy out the F1 team from Red Bull.
Like the current team?
Mm-hmm. He tried to, because this is after the Dietrich's guy died, the creator, the owner.
Right.
He went into the Thai version with a bunch of backers and to try to buy out the F1 team. This created a rift with Marco. And
I'd imagine.
Yeah, so, and then that started with like Marco wanting to get rid of Horner, and then Christian was trying to get rid of Marco, but then Verstappen stuck up for him because he's the driver finder. And so that didn't happen, but now we have, apparently Jos Verstappen was talking to Toto this weekend, and basically if there's a whole Verstappen's being real. I mean, little Verstappen's being very like, I'm just here to drive. He's staying out of it. I don't know what my dad's doing.
He's
just
very,
drive.
very diplomatic.
I just drive. I'm here to drive. That's all I'm here to do. Leave me the fuck alone. So basically, this is thoughts, but it's pretty much could be fact. He went there, and if Horner's not fired, he needs to find a home for Verstappen because everybody's going to leave. And that means, so in 2025, Verstappen could go to Mercedes, and then I think they said, so Hamilton goes to Ferrari, and then Alonso could skip the seat and go to Red Bull. So you could end up with just a crazy. Next year's gonna be nuts. So I think it all depends on what happens in the Red Bull camp. But yeah, so I just found that out that he basically tried to buy it out and then make it his own thing. That way he doesn't have to deal with the internal. So I feel like there's a lot of people gunning for Christian, and that's why that shit was leaked. They're just trying to get rid of him. Yeah, it's a lot of crazy stuff, and again, tinfoil hat. But yeah, I think the driver lineup could really change. It'd be really crazy to see all these other people, big star world champions on different teams that you never thought they would be on. So,
I would be very surprised. Like, I did hear about Big Verstappen going to talk to Toto. I did hear that Big Verstappen mentioned if Horner doesn't leave, Max he will have Max leave. Obviously, we've heard little Verstappen say, "Hey, I'm just here to drive," being very diplomatic. There's a lot of internal rifts right now, it sounds like, in Red Bull, and that's not good because of you're on a sheer dominance right now. Like, for the past 4, we'd even probably throw in 5 years, you've just been on this dominant streak of just like, we have the baddest car on the track, and we have one of the best drivers in the field. And now you're starting to see these cracks in the facade, and I just think it's gonna give really bad optics to Red Bull, and I think it's gonna start seeping into the drivers. Like, you try as a driver, or even just as an athlete, you try your best to keep the outside noise from affecting you. But I think when it's your team principal, who's the guy that he runs everything for your team, if there's stuff about him, I think that's when it starts affecting you. If it's about another driver or some, like a pit crew member or something, or even the owner, you're like, whatever, they got that. But when it's your team principal, I think that's going to make it a little, I'm not saying that Checo and Verstappen can't block the noise, but it's going to be hard because that's going to be the storyline. The next race at Jeddah, Big Verstappen came out and said, I'm not going to be there, just because I don't want to take away from the race. But it's like, we already know that's going to be the talking point of everybody, is that he's not there and the reasons why he's not there. And then all the heat is going to be on Red Bull. Like, I mean, any information that'll come from Red Bull now is going to be just magnified by 10. So, and I will be surprised if next year, say Horner doesn't leave and Verstappen sticks to his guns. He's like, I'm leaving. I would be surprised if he goes to Mercedes, just because their cars aren't up to the standard that his is. And unfortunately, the only other place he could go where the standard is probably as high as Ferrari, and they already are signing Hamilton. I'm sorry, but Hamilton and Verstappen will never be teammates because they are that competitive towards each other. So it'll be, I think next year, if things play out like our minds are thinking they will, it'll be a shit show for the drivers, at least the star drivers of next year. Because you got to remember, Sainz is going to be leaving Ferrari. What if he ends up at Red Bull? I know you said Alonso, which is fine too, but it's just, I don't know, man. There's a lot of moving parts that could happen. I mean, we're going to wait and see. So, speaking of Jeddah, we'll just real quick our thoughts on the upcoming race. I think practice starts tomorrow. My thoughts, my predictions, I mean, Red Bull will win again. I'm curious to see how much. And I'm curious to see, this is the second race. Let's see what data that Mercedes has brought to the table to adjust their cars. Let's see what Ferrari does to adjust their cars. McLaren had a good showing. Like I said, Haas had a strong showing. I do want to point out, did you see the beef between Bottas and Yuki.
Or Yuki and Ricardo. No, it's their teammates.
Was it Yuki? Oh no, you're right. Yeah, it was Yuki and Ricardo. Sorry, Bottas and them didn't even. I think Bottas had a 52-second pit. That is wow. But yes, you're right. I'm sorry, Ricardo and Yuki. Like that's not good. Like that wasn't good at all. And it kind of. I kind of got the feeling that Yuki kind of felt like he's hot shit, and Daniel's like, yo, like I've been a world champion. Like I know what it takes. Like I'm a vet. Like I don't know. It felt like Yuki was throwing his weight around, and Daniel's like, nah, you're not going to push me around. I don't play that.
Well, with that, it's interesting. I heard something, and maybe I just didn't put two and two together, but we know that we have drivers based off of sponsors. So we had the Russian kid for the Yukali or whatever until that happened. Yuki came in the scene when they went to Honda.
Yeah.
Honda's Japanese, Yuki's Japanese. Mm-hmm. So when they go to a Ford power plant in 26, they have every reason to get rid of him and then replace him with Liam Lawson and keep Ricardo because Horner loves Ricardo.
That is true. Liam's an American driver, isn't he?
I thought he was. I think he's an Aussie or he's a New Zealander.
Okay.
Yeah, he looks.
There is an American driver on the grid though.
Yeah, everybody forgets him, Logan Sargent.
Yeah, thank you, Logan Sargent.
So that's an interesting fact that I'm like, was he planted? Because if you're Japanese, like we want a Japanese driver. We haven't had a Japanese driver forever. So
you want representation.
We'll give you an engine, but you have to put on a. So that'd be really interesting because Yuki is still a hothead. And then I think what he pulled there is not doing him any favors. But again, still dumb. You guys are fighting. You're not going to get points. Why switch cars? So I think that is just. I was sitting there like, why are you switching cars for 13th place? It's absolutely. You're not going to catch up to 10th to get a point this late in the race. So to me, that was just a stupid call. But then it was stupid to get mad about it. But again, I understand Yuki's position. Like, what the fuck was the point of that?
Right.
That's just showing favor. Like, but whatever. As far as the next race, I think we'll see improvements by a lot of cars. We might get some surprises. I think Mercedes is still one of my favorite constructors. So
same.
I think that they're smart with the data. They'll see some improvements. I'm hoping they can get the most out of it because they have some really cool stuff on that car. So I think we'll see an improvement. And again, Hamilton has been known to try different things and then catch up later. So
true.
I think we'll see Hamilton beat George throughout the year. I'm still confident that that'll happen regardless. So
I'm excited for the race. I'll watch the practices. I'll watch qualifying. Hopefully I'll watch the race this year or this week. And then the last thing I want to touch on with F1 before we call it an evening on that is I don't know if you saw, but Saudi Arabia is getting another track. They're putting in a bid for another track. I can't remember the name of the country. It starts with a Q of the city.
Qatar? No.
The track. No, it's not Qatar. It's like Quidi. I can't remember how to pronounce it. I'm sorry. The track looks flat out insane because it has an elevated banked curve. And we say elevated, like we're not talking like 5-10 feet. No, it's like 20, 30 stories or something like that off the ground in a banked curve. Like, okay, I get it. I get the draw of wanting to build like a track that it's like it's going to wow the people. But now you're putting drivers at risk, in my opinion. Like, I'm not saying this will happen, but heaven forbid a driver has a wreck in that corner. And somehow, like, what if they go through the barrier? What if they go over the crash barrier? Like, that's a plummet. Like, again, I'm not saying this is worst case scenario. Like, physics line up and this could happen. But it's like, why even put the ability for that to happen? Like, you can still make a dope track without having this giant elevated curve. You got to think these cars are going flat out. And the curve is a sweeping curve. So it's not going to be like a hard break and then you're going to be powering out of the curve. Like, no, it's a sweeping curve to where you'll carry speed through it. So I really hope the FIA is just like, okay, looks great on paper, guys, but we're not doing this. Or I hope the driver's just like, yeah, no, I'm not racing on a track that dangerous. But, I mean, again, the designs look crazy. I mean, I don't know if you saw the video, but there's a roller coaster that's going to be beside the track. It's just bonkers, dude. It's bonkers.
Yeah, we'll post it right here. A picture of it. Yeah, they just need paragliders just in case they go off, and then they can just coast down. Yeah.
Or ejector seats.
Yeah. Actually, I just thought of this, and I think this might be interesting. So I think it's Saudi Arabia that's building the city that goes in a straight line. You know
Yeah,
what
it
I'm
goes in a
talking
straight
about?
line, yeah.
So
Yep.
they should just build an F1 track that goes through that. It's a straight line, but it's just a madhouse through town. It's a straight line for, you have to start.
You just have like one hairpin at every corner.
Yeah.
Or at the end of the city, have a hairpin, come back.
Yeah.
DRS is enabled the entire time.
Yeah. Well, how crazy would that be? I don't. Just to drive through one.
I mean, straight line speed. I mean, the car setups would be super just, okay, all we got to do is just straight line.
Yeah. That might be funny.
I don't know. Before we jump off, there's one more thing I wanted to bring up. I did read that, so this is the last season, the last contract. Like, they're in the final year of the contract for Imola, Spa, Monza, Monaco, and one more place. And there's speculation that the FIA wants to maximize their dollars. So they're talking about doing a rotation of those places instead of racing there yearly. And picking more lucrative markets. And allegedly some people are upset about it because now you're taking away some iconic races. Like Monaco was the only one that they said they think would stay year round, even though the drivers hate Monaco. Just because it's a cash cow of all the rich people that flock to it. But like Spa, Imola, places like that, like they would race like alternating seasons there and stuff. So it'll be interesting to see what they're going to do because they are trying to become more of a popular sport and the world sport, even though Formula One, it was created and it kind of got its roots in Europe. So I don't know. I mean, we'll see. We have 3 races here in America now, and we have 24 races for the first time in the season. So there's no telling where it's going to go. Next thing you know, we're going to be having like 32 races and crazy shit like that.
So switching gears, we live in a crazy economy, and we've talked about shit before, inflation, shrinkflation. So now we have, what was it, Kellogg's, I believe, the guy from Kellogg's, and doing a commercial, basically normalizing the economy the way it is and saying that it's okay because people are poor now and can't afford things, that it's okay to have cereal for dinner. And I caught the commercial with like Tony the Tiger and Toucan Sam coming out, like, hey, what do we want? Cereal. And I'm like, is that really where we're at? I don't know what you saw on it, but I just think my mind's blown. And I have cereal. We live in a crazy economy, and we've talked about shit before, inflation, shrinkflation. So now we have, what was it, Kellogg's, I believe, the guy from Kellogg's, and doing a commercial, basically normalizing the economy the way it is and saying that it's okay because people are poor now and can't afford things, that it's okay to have cereal for dinner. And I caught the commercial with like Tony the Tiger and Toucan Sam coming out, like, hey, what do we want? Cereal. And I'm like, is that really where we're at? I don't know what you saw on it, but I just think my mind's blown. And I have cereal for dinner sometimes, but that's by choice because if I'm lazy. But the fact that we're coming to a point where it's normalized, like that's a problem to me. I don't know. What are your thoughts on cereal for dinner as a norm?
So I got wind of the article. I was actually watching my radio show, and they gave they gave the CEO donkey of the day for his tone deaf message. Again, I'm like you. I've had cereal for dinner before, but again, it was by choice. It wasn't because it was the only thing available in my home. And this is even me as a kid. It was just like, oh, I ain't got to worry about cooking this. I ain't got to worry about waiting for it to cool down. I ain't got to worry about destroying the kitchen. I can just pour a bowl, some milk, done. But the fact that you're trying to push this as a norm for the less wealthy, I hate using the word poor and disenfranchised, but obviously people that, below middle class, that, hey, this is a susceptible meal. Think about most of the cereal that's out there. You're lucky to find cereal for less than $3 to $4 a box. And most of the time, that's not even the family size. That's the regular size. Now, let's look at the nutritional value of cereal. You're going to tell me that you want to feed your child like Corn Pops or Honey Smacks or Cinnamon Toast Crunch, like on a regular? Those cereals are loaded with sugar.
Mhm.
Like, next thing you know, your kids are going to be diabetic. Like, and then you're starting to find out a lot of children have uh, intolerance to lactose. So now you're having to buy the expensive milk, oat milk, almond milk, soy milk. Those aren't cheap because they're specially made. So again, you're not really saving money, and it's not nutritionally sustainable for children to eat cereal as a dinner. Again, if it's what your child wants and you have other food in the house, that's different. But when you're trying to market this as like, this is the family meal, and it's like a family sitting around a table eating bowls of cereal, like, nah, man, that's just tone deaf, dude. Like, come up with other ways to feed the people that can't afford to go out and buy expensive groceries. Like, encourage them, hey, go to your local food bank. Like, yeah, I don't know, dude. It was just such a tone deaf. And it's like, you don't know what struggle is, man. You're a fucking billionaire. Like, I bet you your family ain't eating fucking Kellogg cereal every night for dinner.
Yeah, it agitates me because I know we have a capitalist society, but it doesn't work anymore. We don't care. Everybody's an opportunist, and it's just, yeah, it's like you said, very tone deaf. It's just like, yeah, I saw an interview with a guy, and he was talking. I don't know if it's the same guy, but he's on like a morning show. Yeah, he was just like, yeah, it works. It's, he was just like, go team. Most people can't afford to eat well. Making cereal or for dinner a norm is so backwards, and it's just so many. And I'm surprised I haven't seen a lot of outrage on it. Like I feel like I'm bringing it up to people, and people are just like, "Oh, we've accepted our country's way of life that we just don't even care."
Our country's buffoonery with certain shit.
Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, it's pissed me off. I'm upset with it, and like I said, it shouldn't be. I mean, if we weren't giving billions of dollars for pointless shit, you know, maybe we wouldn't have to have cereal for dinner. That's just my thought.
You got to do something that's going to benefit the people. Saying that, hey, eat cereal for dinner, that's not the answer, man. Like, I'm sorry, it's just not. Like, because again, there's other alternatives. Like, there's food banks, there's food drives, like, there's shelters, unfortunately, for people that might not be able to have a hot home cooked meal. There's shelters that could offer that for you. Like, don't sit here and say, yes, buy my cereal and eat it for dinner so that I can get richer and eat a fat steak every night at some overpriced establishment while, you and your 5 children and your husband or wife are sitting there eating cereal for dinner because you couldn't afford to go to the restaurant. Like, for me, it's just the message is terrible. Like, it's we shouldn't be here as a society where we're encouraging people to have cereal as dinner. That should not be where we are. Like, I don't know, man. Like, when it comes to like our economy and the way things are going and how expensive everything is, it's just like, how do they expect some people to survive? Like, some people, they're in situations where they can't better themselves, unfortunately. Like, they're stuck right now, so they're doing the best they can. Obviously, they want to ascend to another level, but maybe they can't right now. Maybe there's forces against them that are just like, look, you're stuck here right now, so make the best of it. Give them options, help them out. Like, we're so quick, and I have nothing against immigrants. I have nothing against anybody coming to our country. Nothing against that. But we're so quick to give them aid, and we don't aid ourselves. Like, I don't get that, and I never will. And that's like one of my biggest pet peeves right now. It's just like I see all the things we do for other countries and other people, and I'm cool with that. I'm a huge humanitarian, but I also believe in taking care of our people too. And I feel like our people struggle more than people that come to our country. And tell me how that's fair. Tell me how I'm supposed to be okay with that. Like, tell me how I'm supposed to not be pissed off at you that you're giving handouts to somebody who's not even a citizen of this country. And I was born here. I pay my tax dollars. Like, you take money from me every time I get paid. And then sometimes at the end of the year, you take more because I didn't pay enough. Make it make sense, man. Make it make sense. Sorry, I
Yeah.
just, this is the
No,
things that I get upset about.
no, I'm going to bring something old school back. You and I used to work at a place that hired a lot of immigrants and people, and I thought that
Had a
was
whole
cool.
program for it.
Yeah, and I'm not against that. A lot of nice people. A lot of those people are my friends. But when I started working there, working the same job, seeing people that got those tax breaks, it's like, yeah, you're driving BMWs and nice, what I mean, you had a lot of like, how does that work out? I'm struggling. I have to have this psycho ass roommates in my house to be able to live. You know, you're rocking it. You know what I mean? I'm like, you got a free pass. I mean, that came from some shitty stuff. And like I said, it's kind of a weird
Right, yeah.
situation. But yeah, that's something that was always on my mind. It's like, I have no issues with you. A lot of great people, but that's kind of messed up. Yeah, it's like that old saying: "Give us your hungry, you're tired, and you're poor." But fuck all the people that are already here that are going through that. Yeah, so hey, it bugs me. I don't know. I don't have a solution, but yeah, I just feel like if you
Yeah.
could help the people that are here, then we can help more. I think because we'd have more opportunity to donate and give if we were better off.
I'm I believe, some of the things I've thought about, and maybe they don't work. I don't know. Like, we need to look at our tax laws and our income brackets and what people need to pay in taxes. The fact that, obviously we have all these billionaires and damn near trillionaires that have all these legal loopholes that they've created because they've lobbied lawmakers and created these tax breaks for them to where I pay more in taxes than a billionaire. We need to first look at that. That is not fair to the little people. Like, when our tax dollars are funding and paying for your salaries, you need to be working for us, not the billionaires, because those billionaire tax dollars are not working for you. Now, granted, they're lobbying those lawmakers, so those lawmakers are getting some type of kickback, even if they admit that they don't. Don't try to tell me that any politician is not dirty, because they all are. Don't care who you are. But first, let's start there. And then I personally believe in a universal base income. I don't know what that number is. But I believe that we need that here. We're getting to the point where the cost of living is skyrocketing at such an alarming pace that, like, it's going to get to the point where, like, people making 50, 60 grand a year, that's not going to be enough to live in certain places. Like, yeah, if you live in a small ass area with a town of like 10,000 people or less, yeah, you're probably doing okay. You move to a town of like 100,000 people, that's probably going to be struggling if you really think about it. Because again, inflation is real. Cost of the cost of living is real. Products are going up in price. So I think a universal base income is a great starting point. Like, again, we could look at it as, okay, if you make X amount of dollars a year, you're not going to qualify for it because you already make more than a universal base, the base income. But say you're making 25,000. I don't think it's wrong with giving somebody a stipend every month of, like, we'll say $1,000 to $1,500 to help offset some things, like help offset food costs, childcare, transportation costs. Like, again, these are just things I think about. Like, yeah, it may not be a perfect science. It may not be any way to get here, but it's a starting point. Like, let's have the discussion because we need to. Like, again, do you know how hard it is when you go to a city and you see all these homeless people? Like, to me, the most heartbreaking thing I see is when I see a homeless vet. When a person has served for our country, and you see them on the side of the road begging for change, our system is broken, especially if that person has seen combat, has went over there and risked their lives for our freedoms, and now they come back and they're struggling. That is not okay. If you served in the military, I think you should be tax free. I think you should have free home and free room and board. I think you should get a hero's welcome wherever you go. Personally, because you voluntarily signed up for this. You didn't ask, like you weren't told to do this. You asked to do this. You were like, "Hey, I want to put my life on the line for the people in my country." So we should always be looking out for them and giving them the best. So again, I'm not trying to rant. I'm just saying like this is one of my biggest things that like frustrates me right now with our economy and our government. It's like they're quick to do everything for everybody else except Americans, and you wonder why some people are not patriotic right
What's crazy about that is like the military to me is still the avenue to get poverty level people. It's an out for a lot of those people. And yeah, they go in there and some strive, and then some, yeah, what do you do after? You know what I mean? There's a lot of, it's a weird cycle. So yeah, but I agree with you. Yeah, it's like there should just be standard system where, yeah, if you're putting your life on the line for the country, a lot of times unnecessarily. So yeah, give some respect back. And but with that, I've lived here in my house 2.5 years, and I live in crazy one of the counties, not on purpose. That's probably one of
now.
the most taxified counties, or outside of California and New York. And it's weird because it's in Kansas. My property tax has went up every year, and I pay almost $1,300 more in 2 years. Like that's insane. Like that's so my house payment has went up because it's all bundled. You know,
Yeah,
like a house payment is. It's like
yeah,
it's crazy. It's like, okay, I can afford this, and because of the economy, it's skyrocketed, and then my HOAs went up. Everything goes up. Our taxes go up, and it's like I can't. I don't know if I'm going to be able to afford to live here. And then yeah, I have daycare on top of that, which is crazy because it's a house payment per kid, and I'm about to put my other one in.
yeah,
So I've had to pull out my kid to part time, and I'm going to have to try to figure out something to get the other kid part time because I can't afford 3 house
yeah.
payments. So they keep you down. Like there's just no way out to live a normal life. It's not the 1950s. You can't. It's fucked. Yeah, it's crazy. I don't know how people will survive the generations younger than us. It just won't work.
No, they're not going to have retirement anymore.
No,
Retirement won't be unless you were able to break into the digital market and become some type of influencer. Unless you were born into money. Unless you were a what are they called in Silicon
OnlyFans.
Valley? No, I wasn't going to say that. Um, oh, I'm trying to think. Unless you could like break into the tech industry and get some type of venture capitalist to back you, like people working normal jobs like you and I, like it's going to be hard for them when they get older. Everything's going up. The average cost of a brand new car right now is like, last I checked, it was like $38,000 to $45,000. Like, you realize my mom bought a brand new car back in 1996. Like, granted, we got a base model, but we bought a brand new, at the time it was Plymouth, which was hilarious. We bought a brand new Plymouth Neon base model. We had crank windows, stuff like that, like manual door locks. My mom paid like maybe 9 to 10 grand for that car, brand new car. And now, like, it just what? Like, we want to get our daughter a new car for graduation, for when she graduates college. We want to buy her a brand new car so she can kind of have a leg up going into the real world. And it's like, I was telling my wife, like, we're not going to spend less than 20 grand to get her a reasonable car. Like, and that's if we get a nice used one. If we want to go brand new, honey, like we're looking at 25 at a minimum, which it's not a lot of money, but you think about we got to put another son through college. Like, we're paying our house note. Like you, our house note has went up every year because our house's value keeps skyrocketing because of our neighborhood. So yeah, it makes the appraisal of our house go up, but it also makes our insurance goes up, which makes our taxes go up, which makes our house payment go up. Because again, that's all encompassing. So it's not easy out here, man. Like I hear all these kids, like these people. I work with a lot of young kids at my job who, they're fresh out of college and they're just like, can't wait to buy my first house. And I'm like, dude, it is not all it's cracked up to be. Like it is. A, move outside of city limits. Don't live in city limits unless you want to pay city limits tax. And B, like, don't try to don't buy more house than you can afford. Like, if you could buy a fixer upper, I would do it just because you're going to save some money in the long run. Like, it's like having a house is the most important asset you'll ever have. But sometimes it gets tough, man. And luckily, me and my wife, we have good jobs, we make good money, but it's just like, man, it's just things are getting expensive. Like our electric bill has went up, and it's just like we're not doing more. We're not running more stuff. Like I don't know, man. We just went off on a
Yeah,
tangent on
we're gonna we do that sometimes, people. Sorry, we get angry, but that's part of the show.
that. They took
Well,
our jobs. And at least some happier news. Jason Kelsey officially announced his retirement. I think it was this week. There was speculation at the end of the season last year, or earlier this year, whenever the Eagles season ended, that he was thinking about retirement. He officially came out and retired. I thought it was super cool. I loved him showing the emotion, walking away from the game that he loved. He played for 13 seasons. You gotta think he lived, eat, and breathed football probably from a young age until now. It's gave him his life. He gave a lot of praise to his wife. I thought that was really cool. I love to see the players do that. Gave praise to his family, and I love to see the love that his family showed back. His brother's on the Chiefs. His mom was there. I think his dad was there. His whole family was there, and I just thought it was really cool to see all the love that he got. And I think one of the classiest things was the Kansas City Chiefs posted on their X account, Twitter. I hate calling it X, even though that's the name. Posted on a Twitter account. Even though that it was a caption of the brothers embracing after the game they played against each other, and it was like, even though you never suited up for the Chiefs, you'll always be part of the team. And I just thought that was really cool, really classy, showing love. So it was a feel good moment. It was really cool to see him walk away on his own terms, and that's what I always love for any athlete, to be able to walk away from the game you love on your terms, not because you were forced, not because of some crazy scandal, some horrifying injury. It was like, it was time. It's time for me to just be there for my family. I've made a wealth that I can live off of, that I can pass down to my kids. It's time for me to step away. And I just thought it was a beautiful moment for the game of football and for the Kelsey family.
I have a twofer for that. One's just a question because I don't follow as much as you. I know that's like your jam. Do Are those press conferences normal, or is that just a thing because the Kelsey brothers are super friggin' popular? Do retired people have conferences like that to announce the retirement, or is that just like a, a one or two off because of his status?
It's up to the players. So
Okay.
you'll see some players quietly announce their retirements. They'll just tell the team, "Hey, I'm retiring," and the team will announce it to like a reporter. But then you have other players. In this case, Kelsey, their popularity has skyrocketed, and so he was probably encouraged to say, "Hey, you should have a press conference because you're so pivotal to the game and you're so front facing right now. Like you should do a press conference." So it's not mandatory. It's just kind of like, "Hey, does the player want to do it or not?"
Well, my thoughts on it, I caught most of the speech and stuff, and it was really kind of cool to see. And what I like about both of them, and it's stuff that we've talked about way back when we started this, is just it's cool to see two guys, brothers, big football stars, big dudes, not afraid of emotion. Like that gets to me. It's just like they're not afraid to cry or be proud and just show love. And I feel like that's a little rare. Everybody wants to be hard and soft, and it's like here's two dudes that are, but don't give a shit, and just yeah, it's really cool to see. I like seeing because there's so many like cultures that are just here in America and around the world that are just held up. You can't do that. That's frowned upon. You don't show emotion. So it's really cool to see these guys set that example. I know it's just really cool to see. And like I said, I'm a fan of both of them. They're funny. It was a cool way to go out. for sure. And I got a little tidbit of the growing up, telling the stories and stuff. So yeah, and yeah, they're from Cleveland,
Yeah, yeah,
where I'm
yeah.
from.
From Cleveland.
So well, where I grew up. Then on just some nerdy stuff. I think we had a lot of that this time. A lot of things coming out this year from Lego in general. Is there anything? I know we're both fans. Is there anything you're excited for that's coming out that you know of? There's a lot of shit that haven't been announced, but any big sets or anything that you're looking forward to getting?
The one that I am probably going to drop the money day one is when they drop allegedly the Mercedes F1 Technic car. That is, I am beyond ready for that. Like, I've wanted to build an F1 car. I was really kicking around the idea of getting the McLaren, even though I'm not a huge fan of McLaren. And it's like, no, I just kept to myself, wait, they're gonna do Mercedes, they have to. They're gonna do Mercedes, they have to. And early speculation is that we will get a Mercedes F1 car, and I am waiting on pins and needles for that to drop.
It might be out. I thought I saw
Oh,
something tonight where
snippers,
someone
snippers.
had it on their they had it on their table, like it was an early birthday present. Might just make
What
me
about
mad
you?
if it's art. Um,
I'm checking right now. Oh, listeners, it's live. Yep. Your boy's getting that. It is. It is glorious to look at.
you're
Ah,
welcome.
yeah, I am. Yeah. Thank you, my guy. Yeah, I'm ordering that. Let's go.
Uh,
Anyway, sorry, listeners. I had to
no,
geek
no.
out for a second.
For me, I buy a crazy amount. Always. I am excited for basically all the new techniques. I do a lot of the Speed Champions. The Arten Senna is stupidly priced, but I will get that because it's a one-off minifig, and I just think that's a really cool showpiece.
Oh yeah, I
Um,
forgot about that one. I want to get that one.
Even though I don't have Rivendell yet, it is rumored that they're going to do Barad-dûr. I can never say that right.
Really?
Barad-dûr, Sauron's Eyes Tower in Lord of the Rings to go with
Right?
Rivendell.
Yeah.
So if
Okay,
I
that's
can't wait
pretty
to see
impressive if
that.
they do that.
So if that one comes out, that's a highlight for me because I'll probably try to figure out how to get Rivendell in that this year. Maybe I'll get a bonus
I
or
was about to ask,
something or
did you
what.
get Rivendell?
$500, man. Like I think
Yeah, it's up there.
the most expensive sets I have, and granted they were on sale. Um, the Lamborghini Scion, Assembly Square Modular, and we have the Lion's Night Castle remake. But again, I got
Oh,
dibs on
okay.
those or Lego points. So 300 is around that mark of this hurts.
Yeah. That I feel you. That's
$500,
where I am.
That's, I don't make that kind of cash. So, uh, but I don't know. It's it was like if it was retiring tomorrow, I'd get it. I try to get stuff.
Gotcha.
I wait till like I keep an eye on the retire list, and then if like something goes, I'll end up getting it. Like the Bugle's going to go this year. I missed a deal on Black Friday, but I'll have to get that before it retires. Or you don't get it; it goes up in
Yeah,
price. So
I
we'll
missed
see.
the original night. My goal was to have the original Batman series that they had. So you had the Batwing, which I
Mhm.
did get. That's my most expensive Lego I've bought so far. I think I paid $270 for it.
Mhm.
And then I was gonna get the Batmobile to match it. Because at the time there was speculation that they were going to release all three. They were going to release the Batwing, the Batmobile, and then the Bat boat. But they ended up not doing that because the Bat boat basically it was derived from the Batwing. So I think that's why they canceled the Bat boat. They were just like that's pointless.
Yeah.
And I missed out on the Batmobile. Like right now, you can only get the Tumbler from the Dark Knight series, which is fine. But the original Batman is my favorite Batman. Like the original movie Batman, and Michael Keaton is my favorite Batman. So I really wanted to get those two iconic vehicles, and I missed out. Now I can only find the Batmobile for like $500, and I'm just like, I'm not doing that. Um, if you could right now, money aside, like money's no object, you can afford it. What is the number one Lego set that you want?
I wouldn't say it's one. It would be all the old original, not even that old, like 10 years. Any of the modulars that are retired, like the Parisian restaurant, or they're like 1,500, and there were like 150 new. Like there's, or the Ghostbusters modular.
That one was nice.
That you can't get that for that. That is up. Like I said, any of the modulars that I want for my city are just, again, I'd have to go to like a garage sale for some old lady who doesn't know what she has, and then get really
Right.
lucky because yeah, they are outrageous.
The Millennium Falcon, the super detailed. I think it's right now $900, eight or $900 from Lego. Millennium Falcon. That obviously Star Wars is my favorite franchise in the world, and the Millennium Falcon is one of the most iconic like vehicles in movie lore. And to have a detail like I have a Millennium Falcon, but it's the smaller one that was only like $100, $120. To have the super detailed replica like that would be a dream for me because again, it's such an iconic vehicle. And I just think it would be I would fanboy out building it. Like I would watch the original 4, 5, and 6 while I built it because I would be that fanboyed out that I would be geeking that hard. That's my dream Lego set, and I hope one day I can get it. And I don't even know if I'll open it. Like that's what's crazy is that I'll be so excited having it that I'll be afraid to open it.
Pre-pandemic, Black Friday or a lightning deal, I don't even remember. I was sitting at my old job, and I have, again, that set was on Amazon lightning deal for $450, and I let it sit in my cart, and I regret it to this day because I'm like, it's a lot of money, $450. It's still for fucking Lego, sorry. And I regret that to this day, and I knew that you'd be kind of disappointed in me.
That's
Yeah,
the
it's like
lowest I've ever heard the price of that set ever.
it'll never get there again.
Yeah, it'll never come down
Because
again. It's appreciated too much.
yeah, so
Oh,
yeah,
Joe, I would have just pushed the trigger and be like, consequences damned.
I, I passed on Stranger Things. That's one I want to get.
Oh, that's another one I would love to get. That one
I
is sunsetted now. I don't think you can even
yeah,
get it now.
it's used as $300. So yeah, that's another one.
Yeah.
I I wasn't back into I grew up with Lego, but I wasn't into it till recently. I didn't get back into it until I
Yeah.
got obsessed again. But I had a couple sets, and um, with that, are you aware of what might come out? The rumors are usually true. The people I follow on Star Wars
Mhm.
Day this year. Have you heard about
No, I haven't
the
heard anything
dark?
about what might be coming up.
It's a dark Millennium Falcon. It is all black
What?
with stuff. It to me kind of looks like shit, but what's interesting is their dark characters minifigs. Dark Ray, Dark Jar Jar,
Really?
Darth Vader in a white outfit. And those would be very, very limited, one off. And I might stand in line at a
Oh,
Lego
I'm looking
store.
at it right now. It's
Like,
it's kind of
I think
cheap. It's a Dark Ray, the evil C-3PO, evil
yeah,
Chewbacca.
like one off.
Okay.
So I might be a 3 a.m. Lego store camp out this year just
If
for
you
those
do that,
minifigs.
let me know. I will come to where you are and we'll do it together so I can snag one of those.
We'll live stream.
Yeah, and that one I probably wouldn't open because it'd be so
No,
fucking rare.
yeah, those minifigs would
That
be.
one I would sit on it for like 3 years and then find out that it goes for 50 grand.
Yeah, I mean it'd be reasonable now. It's probably around the 150 range when it comes out. But yeah,
They're saying it's going to go for 170. This is speculation.
of course, assholes. Um, but yeah, like I just wanted to draw your attention to that because that's gonna be a very because this is the 25th anniversary year of Star Wars. So you're going to see
Yeah.
a lot of memorabilia, kind of like Disney 100. You're going to see a lot of collector sets this year. That you're like the new R2D2 has a Darth Malik minifig. I I think that's his name. I don't know. That Star Wars is your jam. You and my wife like Star Wars. Um, but yeah, I just want to bring that to your attention because it's gonna probably be it's very rare. It's a very cool spin on characters and the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah, it's $850 right now for the Millennium Falcon, the Ultimate. It's called the Ultimate Series,
UCS, yeah, Ultimate Collector Series.
Collection Series. Yeah, I would murder people for this.
Have you been around one? It's about the size of like a desk. It is ginormous.
Yeah, I heard it's massive.
People like they build it like I have no room. I have to sell it because I live in an apartment.
Yeah. Well, that's like when I've seen the builds of the Destroyer and the Eiffel Tower. People are like, you have to have special storage for these or a special place to put them because of how the sheer size of them.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like you. I didn't get back into Legos until the pandemic because like nothing was going on. So like I need to occupy my time. And it's like, oh, I got into the helmet series. And then from there it just skyrocketed. Like there's a bunch of helmets I need to buy right now that I haven't purchased in a while. There's a few new ones. There's a few Star Wars ones that I haven't got. So, no, you're fine. Go ahead, man.
Do you have there's one helmet from the Star Wars series that's like outrageously priced, and it's the Dark Trooper, I think.
The one with the red eyes?
It might be. You have to look it up, but the value on that one is like that. You can't get that one. For some reason, that one is the most expensive.
I forgot I got my camera. So, real quick, listeners, we're going to get a view. Is it that one right there? The Dark Trooper?
It might be.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a black helmet. I don't know which one it is. It's not Darth Vader, but it's either the Dark Trooper or it's the black helmet of the TIE Fighter.
Let's see. So, so they're only showing they're only showing two dark helmets. It's Darth Vader and then it's the Dark Trooper helmet. And yeah, I got the Dark Trooper a while. Like, I can't remember if I got that one or my wife got that one for me. I need to get the Captain Rex helmet and the Clone Commander Cody helmets. I haven't got those two yet.
Go to Walmart. They're discounting a lot of stuff and they're $55 each right now.
Right. So, yeah, I'm sitting on some money. I'm never going to sell them. But yeah, I'm definitely going to pick up the Clone Commander and the Rex helmet because I need those two. And I do. Probably my favorite helmet, though, if I'm being honest, outside of Star Wars, if we went outside of Star Wars, I have Venom and Carnage. Carnage is okay. Venom is incredible. Like, that's probably my favorite helmet that I've built. And they have a Spider-Man one now, too, so I need to get that one. I forgot that.
Yeah,
I don't have the Spider-Man helmet, so I want to get that one. Yeah, Carnage, like, my wife found Carnage for me. She was, like, on Target one day, and she's like, oh, hey, honey, they have Carnage at Target. And I'm like, yo, load up that red cart. And so, I got the 5% back on it, and I went and snatched Carnage. I was like, oh, yeah. Carnage is, like, he's cool, but he's just, I don't know, they just kind of, like, put him together. Like, Venom, I felt like they really captured what Venom was with the tongue and everything. And I was like, that's pretty badass. So, yeah, I'm about to buy some Legos tonight.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it, man. Well, kids, we kind of ran long tonight. We started nerding out at the end with our Legos because, pretty passionate about that. Again, we hope you enjoyed tonight's chat. F1's big right now, so you're going to get a lot of F1 news when we have our episodes. But, this was kind of a slow week for some nerd stuff. So, we talked about some real stuff tonight, too. That's going to happen every now and then, The one thing I want to end on tonight is, as you know, March is National Women's Month. So tonight I just want to celebrate the women in my life that I love and I cherish and I adore. And that's a shout out to my mom, my sister, my wife, my daughter, and my niece. Those are 5 amazing women in my life, and I'm so proud of them. And I will always uplift and encourage them and shower love on them. So shout out to you ladies. Y'all are amazing, and y'all keep doing what you're doing. Proud of you. On that note, I think we're going to dip out tonight. So you all have a great evening. Thanks for hanging out with us, and we'll catch you on the next episode.
Take it easy.
Peace, everybody.